afternoon. It's Sunday, January 1st, 2017. I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. The celebrations by hundreds heralding in 2017 was cut short after a terrorist dressed as Santa Claus went on a shooting rampage in an Istanbul nightclub, killing at least 39 and injuring scores others. Sadly, this afternoon, the Foreign Ministry confirmed that the body of a 19-year-old female Israeli-Arab teenager, initially declared missing, had been identified. IBA's Margot Dudkevich filed this report before the latest development.
Istanbul residents woke up this morning to heightened security in the city in the aftermath of the deadly shooting. The Foreign Ministry confirmed that 19-year-old Elian Zahar Nasser, an Israeli teenager from Tyre, remains unaccounted for after failing to contact her family following the deadly attack. Another 18-year-old girl, also from Tyre, is in moderate condition after being injured in the shooting rampage. Two other Israeli girls who were with them came away unscathed. One suffered from shock, and the fourth was taken to the police station to give testimony. 39 people were killed and more than 65 injured when a gunman wearing a Santa Claus outfit opened fire on hundreds celebrating the New Year at the Reina nightclub in Istanbul after midnight. A manhunt for the terrorist continues after Turkish security forces determined that he fled from the nightclub and remains at large. It was around 1:30 when he forced his way into the club after fatally shooting a policeman and security guard at the entrance. Turkey's Interior Minister said at least 16 foreigners are among the 39 killed, and efforts are underway to identify the other victims. The club, a popular venue frequented by locals and foreigners, is one of Istanbul's most iconic and overlooks the Bosphorus. Around 500 people were thought to have been inside the club when the attack began. Some fled the club and jumped into the Bosphorus to save themselves and were rescued by police. Countries from around the world condemned the attack. Eitan Nae, Israel's ambassador to Turkey, issued a sharp condemnation, saying terror never wins. Outgoing US President Barack Obama conveyed his condolences and directed his team to offer American aid to the Turkish authorities. Our thoughts are with the victims and their loved ones, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini said on her Twitter account. Today's attack shook Turkey, seeking to recover from a series of deadly bombings waged in Ankara and Istanbul in 2016, carried out by the Islamic State or Kurdish militants, as well as a failed coup last July. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
The U.S. warned Turkey of a pending attack at the nightclub and security was increased, but despite this, the terrorists succeeded in entering. Benjamin Netanyahu extended his condolences to the Turkish people and offered wishes for a speedy recovery to the wounded. Speaking at the start of today's weekly cabinet meeting, he said that he denounced the Istanbul attack, saying the battle against terror was a global effort. Netanyahu said remarks made by German Chancellor Angela Merkel over the weekend reiterated what Israel has been saying for years, that extremist Islamic terrorist groups is the biggest threat to the world. Amid ongoing terror alerts, Israel's Counterterrorism Bureau issued a severe travel warning for India on Friday, urging Israelis to refrain from traveling to that country. The warning, based on concrete threats, cautioned Israelis already in India that terrorist groups may attempt to carry out attacks in the immediate future. The warning referred to Western and tourist hotspots as an increased risk, singling out southwest India, in particular Goa, and recommended Israelis to avoid beach parties, nightclubs, and areas where there is a high concentration of tourists, such as markets and shopping areas. Families with relatives traveling in India were asked to alert them of the travel advisory. Family members of the Dalia El-Yakim, the Israeli woman murdered in the Berlin Christmas market attack last month after a car plowed into a crowd, are outraged that the government is refusing to recognize their loved one as a victim of terror. Relatives of the family said it is inconceivable that the government views her death as a car accident and not a terror attack. Meanwhile, Dalia's husband, Rami, who was seriously injured in the attack, began communicating with his family members over the weekend. Once his condition is stabilized, they hope to bring him back to Israel for further treatment. Prime Minister Netanyahu is expected to be questioned by police sometime this week on allegations of wrongdoing. In recent days, attempts by police to schedule a time frame for the Prime Minister's questioning have failed. A senior police officer said he hopes the scheduling will be resolved soon, noting that Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit is the one who has to decide. According to media reports, the Attorney General is expected to announce the start of a full criminal investigation into allegations against Netanyahu only after police question him. He reportedly informed Netanyahu of the pending investigation as early as December 12th. At the time, Netanyahu asked to postpone the questioning until after his trip to Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan. Netanyahu is suspected of receiving favors from two businessmen, one Israeli and a foreigner. Meanwhile, it was revealed over the weekend that part of the evidence compiled against Netanyahu stems from information provided by World Jewish Congress President Ronald Lauder. Netanyahu's office released a statement saying all previous affairs have proven baseless, and it will be the same with the current allegations published in the media. They won't come to anything because there isn't anything, they said. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly invited Prime Minister Netanyahu to attend his inauguration in Washington later this month on the 20th of January. According to the New York Post, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has been aggressively courting Netanyahu in order to arrange a one-on-one meeting between the two leaders. Sources close to the Prime Minister said he has yet to receive an official invitation, but is considering attending the event. Parallel to his efforts to reach out to Netanyahu, Trump continued his criticism of Washington's administration's latest treatment of Israel. Speaking to reporters outside a New Year's Eve party at his Mar-a-Lago club on Saturday night, the president-elect had harsh words for U.S. President Barack Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry, whose recent speech condemning Israeli settlement construction raised Republican hackles.
Look, we have to protect Israel. Israel, to me, is very, very important. We have to protect Israel. And I disagree with what he's done on Israel. I listened to Secretary Kerry's speech. I think it's very unfair to Israel what happened.
Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said he is ready to work with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump in order to achieve peace in the region. Speaking at an event marking 52 years since the establishment of the Fatah party, Abbas accused Israel of doing everything to prevent a two-state solution and stressed he will not accept ongoing attempts by the Israeli government to mislead the international community. The PA president also praised the latest U.S. Security Council resolution condemning Israeli settlements, calling it an historical resolution with international consequences. He added that the Palestinians are looking forward to the upcoming Paris Peace Conference, scheduled for later this month, a summit which Prime Minister Netanyahu refuses to attend, claiming it will not contribute anything towards peace. For his part, President Reuven Rivlin said today that the future of the disputed territory stands at the crux of the disagreement between Israel and the international community. Speaking at a gathering of Israeli diplomats in Jerusalem this morning, Rivlin said that while many abroad see the 1967 lines as sacred to the resolution of the conflict, there is nobody in Israel who sees a complete return to the old armistice lines as realistic. Referring to last week's United Nations Security Council resolution, Rivlin warned the diplomats, who represent Israel in a variety of European capitals, that professional diplomacy is a central and crucial component of Jerusalem's strategy to defend itself. An indictment was issued today against Assad Daka, who allegedly provided Arab MK Bassel Ghatas with cell phones which he smuggled to the Palestinian security prisoners incarcerated in the Kitzayot prison in the south. Daka's brother Walid is currently serving a 31-year jail sentence for the murder of an Israeli soldier, Moshe Tamam. According to the indictment, Assad Daka met Ghatas at a gas station on December 18 and gave him 12 mobile phones, SIM cards, and other communications equipment to sneak into prison. On that same day, Ghatas managed to smuggle the packages into prison through another prisoner. The charge sheet also says that Daka was well aware that the equipment passed to the security prisoners would be used to endanger the lives and harm state security. Celebrations for ushering in 2017 began in Sydney, Australia, with the biggest fireworks display the city has ever seen, with more than 1 million people lining the harbour to watch. Celebrations moved on to Europe, where security was tightened due to their terror warnings. In Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate was lit up and turned into a colorful dance festival in one of the biggest parties in Europe just a week after a deadly terror attack in the German capital, which killed dozens of people, including an Israeli. Across the Atlantic, in New York City, as many as 2 million revelers packed Times Square for the famous annual New Year's Eve event as they counted down the crystal sphere to midnight. Confetti rained down as the traditional tune of Old Lang Syne rang out, based on the Scottish poem written by Robert Burns, loosely translated as meaning for the sake of old times. In Rome today, Pope Francis conducted a Mass at St. Peter's Basilica and called upon the world's 1.2 billion Catholics to combat loneliness by renewing physical rather than virtual contact. It's Sunday, a new week, a new year. Keeping in line with our weekly tradition of 5 good stories, we bring this time the 5 new laws that go into effect today that may help usher in a new year on a positive note. As of today, minimum wage will raise to 5,000 shekels a month, with an additional 300 shekels increase slated for the end of the year. The new compulsory national insurance saving for children kicks off today. The state will place a monthly allowance of 50 shekels for each child under the age of 18 in a bank account selected by their parents. Money may be redeemed once the child reaches the age of 18. 2 more vacation days for salaried employees. Workers employed at the same place for over 4 years, who work 5 days a week, will now be entitled to 12 days of vacation annually instead of 10. A change in tax rates. People earning a gross salary of up to 20,000 shekels a month will pay less income tax. However, those earning more than 60,000 will be required to pay up to 200 shekels more. A mandatory pension plan for the self-employed. From now on, over 210,000 self-employed Israelis will be forced to set aside a minimum monthly fee that will be saved as a future pension fund. Staying on an optimistic note, Prime Minister Netanyahu said today that economic data compiled for the past year indicates that 2016 was a very good year for Israel, even better than expected. Speaking at a cabinet meeting, Netanyahu said the data shows a 4% rate of growth, as well as a dramatic decline in the national debt. Another law that goes into effect today is the so-called supermarket bag bill, an environmental-friendly law that aims to minimize consumption of plastic bags and encourage recycling. As of today, customers will have to pay 10 agorot for each plastic bag used at a checkout at leading supermarket chains across the country. Bags used for fresh produce will continue to be free of charge, and many chains are providing free reusable shopping bags for those who purchase a total of over 100 shekels. This, however, will be only available for a limited time, while supplies last. According to the Ministry of Environmental Protection, the average Israeli uses 275 plastic bags a year, amounting to an estimated 3 billion plastic bags that are used by the entire population. The law aimed at reducing municipal waste and pollution was passed 2 years ago in the Knesset. In finance, stocks were mostly down in the day of light trading on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and there was no change in foreign currency trading. Here are the numbers. Turning to the weather, and it will be rainy tomorrow with showers and thunder showers in the north and along the coast. It will snow on Mount Hermon and northern Golan Heights, and temperatures will drop. Here are the expected highs and lows at home and abroad. That's all for today. I'm Mario O'Sullivan. I'll be at this desk again tomorrow to bring you the latest news from Israel. Until then, thanks for watching, and shalom from Jerusalem.